Right. Very grateful to have you on. Very glad I can have the hybrid twin mama. Did I get that right?
You got it right.
Okay, nice. I know you've popped up on my search for hybrid and you did a DEKA, right?
Yes, I do have a couple decas under my belt. Yes.
I can say I had no clue what a DEKA was.
A lot of people don't. So you are totally, that is okay.
Yeah. So if you could briefly explain what a
Sure.
Hyrox and a DEKA is coming from somebody who's done it and just somebody who's watched videos and trains a little bit.
Absolutely. And I saw that you did your first High Rocks workout this past week.
Yeah, it was a little bit like a
Yes,
Hyrox style. So I just kind of, I don't even remember what I did for it. I think it was an insane amount of ski urge and rowing
sure.
and stuff.
Sure.
And then I did, of course, a bunch of wall balls. So it's just
Yes.
constant.
Yes. I I think the hard part with High Rocks is we like to put the label on things. And so oftentimes we're like, oh, it's a High Rocks workout because it has a ski erg or because it has some wall balls.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you probably just did a great workout either way that had some High Rocks components. So good
Yes.
job. Congratulations.
Yeah, exactly
Welcome
right.
to the crazy world of High Rocks.
Oh, yeah. Long endurance.
Um, but to answer your question, so yeah, High Rocks is think about it as 1 kilometers, and they're broken up by stations. And 1 kilometers is like roughly 0.62 miles or of a mile. And so you do a 1 kilometer run, and then you do a station, which the first station is the ski erg. And then you do a 1 kilometer run, and then you do the next station, and so on and so forth. And those stations include things like sled pushes, sled pulls, wall balls, burpees, weighted lunges, farmer's carry. So there's a lot mixed in there, a lot of mixed modality. And I think a lot of times people want to say like, oh, it's a high rock or it's a CrossFit kind of competition. And it's really a running race. If you're a solid runner and you have obviously a good strength base too,
Hmm.
that's just really the best place to be from a high rocks perspective. And then DEKA, I always say if high rocks is a marathon, the DEKA races are kind of like your 5K, your 10K, and your half marathon. So there's a bunch of different DEKA events, everything from the DEKA Strong, which is no running, and that's just station work and not
Mm.
dissimilar to high rocks. So it's eight or there's 10 stations, excuse me, and you go everything from step back lunges, weighted step back lunges with a ram roller to sit ups with a medicine ball to sled push pull. So there's some similar components there. Um, and then as those kind of go on through the DECA events, there is more running added in between those stations. So like the DECA mile has cumulatively a mile between all of those stations, and then so on as we get into like DECA fit as well too. So yeah,
Okay.
they're brothers and sisters.
Gotcha. Yeah, I when I first kind of heard about it, I was looking into like High Rocks, it just blew up,
Yeah,
I knew somebody
I
that
know.
did it and they were explaining the workouts. I was like, all right. But I kind of came from more of a CrossFit background.
Yeah,
So like I kind
it's
of knew the movements a little bit.
yes, exactly. And Hyrox is very trendy right now. So yes, it is blowing up everywhere.
Yeah. So how did you did you do High Rocks or DECA first? And then how did you kind of get into one of those?
Yeah, great question. So, I was a swimmer growing up, and my entire life I was a water person. So I always laugh that I'm doing a land sport now
Oh
because
yeah.
I was very much only a swimmer. So I swam in college, and then once we had our kids, I always say I kind of lost myself for a little bit. And I think a lot of people that have children and especially twins right off the bat kind of I always say I blacked out for 2 years and came up for air and realized like what the heck am I doing with myself, my how I feel internally, how I look externally. Like I have been an athlete my entire life, and now I have all of this like baby weight that I can't get rid of. And I just kind of, what, like, as cliche as it sounds, going into 2023, my New Year's resolution was just like I want to just move my body again and I just want to feel better. And I was in a terrible corporate job and working all hours of the day. And I think we all kind of get to that point, and I've already come to this point many times in my life, and I'm sure I will again, where you're just kind of like, enough is enough, man. Like, what am
Yeah.
I doing? And I'm not like, what are my goals? Where am I going with this? And so I just kind of flipped a switch and I started walking with the boys and I started doing Peloton classes, like nothing, I mean, really nothing in the grand scheme of things, but just something
Moving.
to get started. Yeah, movement. And I did like the mom's workout group, and my first workout class puked. Like it was like
Nice. Very
baseline
nice.
level, very much baseline level. And then once I kind of felt confident enough to find a community and a group of people, I jumped into the F45 world and really enjoyed like meeting
Mm.
other people that were in the same phase of life as me, and really enjoyed the structure of those classes as well too. And that kind of led me to be like, okay, I'm kind of strong. I think I have a baseline right now. I'm missing being an athlete. How can I get back into this world again? Is it silly for me to get back into this world again? I have two kids under two or under three at this point. And I was like, I'm just gonna do a half marathon. Like, I'm just gonna run. I think I can do that. Like, baseline. I have no goals, I have no aspirations. I just want to finish the race. And that was almost exactly a year ago from right now.
Wow.
And yeah, so I just, that's all I wanted to do. So I hopped into my first half marathon, and I think anybody that's done a race, as particularly as an adult, is like, okay, that was fun, or oh my gosh, I'm never doing that again. Like, it's one end
Yeah.
of the spectrum, there's no in
Absolutely.
between. And so I loved it. And that was like I got that competitive taste again. And
A little blood in the water.
Hyrox, exactly. And Hyrox started getting, bigger here in the States. And so um, one of my girlfriends was like, hey, let's do Anaheim. I live in San Diego. So we're like, yeah, we'll pop up, we'll do Anaheim, we'll do doubles. And I start like kind of obsessing over it. I'm like, this is so cool. Like, I
Mm.
could do this. This is running. This is, like, this is amazing. And I said, I'm going to try Dallas. I want to do Dallas, which was before Anaheim at this point, and just do a singles race because I already committed to doubles with a partner for Anaheim, and just see if I could be decent at this and just kind of get the feel before I go into this doubles race. So Dallas was Thanksgiving last year, like right around Thanksgiving last year. So my journey has in Hyrox, in this craziness that I have been in, has really only been within the last year, not even.
Just,
It's crazy.
just taking off immediately.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And I feel so incredibly blessed. Like, I can't even stress that enough. But yeah, so I jumped into Dallas. I couldn't even tell you what I went. Nothing phenomenal, but I was like, okay, I love this. Did doubles with one of my girlfriends and had an awesome time in Anaheim. And then was like, okay, how can I do more? How can I do more? And sign up for Vegas. And in Vegas, I was crazy enough to say I'm going to do a doubles race with someone who's like definitely my competitive set from a running standpoint, and do an individuals race. And it was a two. Now that Hyrox is blowing up, they've been doing like 2 day events based, or more than 2 days, but like they'll do a women's open on Saturday and a women's open on Sunday. So you could be like first on Saturday, but
Oh
then like
wow, I
get
didn't
bumped
know
to
that.
eighth on Sunday or something like that. Just because there's been so many people in the sport, is so inundated right now. They're trying to keep up. So I raced on Saturday and I placed first in my age group for the open event. And I was like, I didn't even know what that meant, like
Yeah,
I just had no, I was just like, okay, what does that
disassociated.
even mean? Yeah, completely. And some of the women that I had met with in the Hyrox community were like, no, that means you're going to stand on the podium and you're going to go to world championships. Like, that's your qualifying slot for world championships. And I'm like, what? Come again? I like, it was so foreign to me and so like out of left field. And so then by Sunday, I got bumped to third. So the qualifying spots at that point were only first and second. So individually,
Mm,
I was like, oh, bummer, like I won't qualify for Worlds. But then like I kind of had a vendetta at that point because my doubles partner and I were racing and we're like, let's do this. And so we ended up placing first in our age group and qualifying for Worlds, which was again just so phenomenal. So
that's
that was
insane.
Vegas. Yeah, that was Vegas. And then I raced Atlanta and then World Championships in Chicago earlier this year. And it was just one of those things where I was so incredibly humbled to be in the room. I can't explain it any better way than that. Like, there was no expectations. We just went out there. We wanted to have fun and have a great race. We had a great race. Our running was way faster than it had been in the past. And it was that moment where I was kind of like, I think when you look back at kind of a journey, especially when you make that big shift after having kids or after going through a big milestone in your life, it doesn't have to be kids. It can be leaving the toxic job. It can be whatever. It was kind of that moment where I was like, okay, like this is pretty cool. I think I love the sport. I really love the people in it. Like, what's next? So that kind of brings me to this season and chatting with you. And sorry that was a long-winded answer, but I hope that gives you
No,
some background.
no, absolutely. I appreciated you going into depth because it does resonate on this side for sure. That it kind of it only defined life exactly. It's like you have no clue what was on the other side for you when you just kind of
Exactly.
looked deeper for yourself, you know. And you kind of mentioned there was like a 2 year period where you were kind of, you know, figuring out life, especially you just had
Totally.
kids and stuff like that. And from somebody who has like sisters and you know they have kids, and I know
Yeah.
that they've had those moments too, even friends, their wives, you know, everyone kind of has that moment of period. And it does seem that consistently whenever somebody does have that, like that switch, is
Switch.
when you're tired, like you're tired of it.
Yeah.
Kat, the
That's the
last
best way.
podcast, had the same thing. She said,
Yes.
until I did it for myself or it was I was tired of it, you know,
Exactly.
is only that change gonna happen. So
Exactly. And it's that moment that you're just, it's like that aha moment. And again, it can be in anything. It doesn't have to be in a sport, it doesn't have to be in, whatever. It just that switch flips and it's like, all right, let's go. Let's do it.
no, yeah, absolutely. So with you starting it and kind of doing
Yeah.
those, doing that for yourself in the moment to better yourself,
Yeah.
do you feel that bleeding into other aspects of your life? So as like, you know, you, I always say how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yes.
Right. And everything bleeds
Yes.
into the next thing. You know, discipline, patience. Have you found that a lot of aspects from pursuing Hyrox and doing DEKAs translate to being a mom, a wife, a neighbor? And what
Yeah.
are those in particular that stand out to you?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think, yes, 100%. It wasn't just like getting back into shape. It wasn't just, there's so many pieces
Mm,
of the puzzle that made up where I was kind of at in my life and where I wanted to be. Um, and I didn't really know how to get there, but along the way, I think you find I'm a firm believer that like the people that are supposed to be in your life at that point in your time find their way there. And you have people in your life in different phases that are kind of just you're meant to be there for them and they're meant to be there for you. And there's all these different phases of life, whether that's the kids or the sport or the job. And I cannot say enough how much I've grown as a wife, as a mom, as a friend, as a community supporter for all of these amazing women within the high rock space, with all of these within the community of moms that are just trying to kind of find themselves again. And being able to just be like, I got you. I know it's so hard right now. Like, I promise it's going to get better. And yeah, I think the biggest one to me is the mom. Like, I have been such a better mom through all of this. And selfishly, I love that the boys can be like mom works really hard and mom like has goals and mom is strong, and this is really cool because someday I want them to be able to do that for themselves. They're only 4.5, so we're not quite there yet, but I want them to think that way, and I want them to try and pursue the things that they are passionate about. And if that's all they ever get out of this entire thing, then it's a win for me, like that's the most important.
Absolutely. It's you never quite know who you're going to influence and how, and then in particularly like I live with like roommates, and
Yeah.
a lot of tendencies and a lot of habits can bleed into others. Like I remember when I started getting back and I was starting to run. I hate running,
Yep.
but
I know.
but a couple weeks, and you start to run, and then
Yes.
immediately I just posted it, something like doing a run. And then my roommate, he said, "Hey man, I did my run." And I was like, "Oh
Yes.
man, like it's just something small, there was no intent on that. It's cool. You just don't know who you're going to reach and how it's going to resonate with anybody."
Yeah, and I think that that's been the biggest blessing through all of this is the community and how a phenomenal all of these people are within Hyrox, within DEKA, just the hybrid community as a whole. And I work with an amazing coaching team, Geiger Coaching, and that to me was just the biggest game changer. And having that community of people that just get it is
Mm,
so, and to your point, like no one is standing over there like, yeah, yeah, you got it all the time, right? But I know they have my back. They know I have their back. And if I need anything or I have a bad workout or a bad race, whatever it is, they're there. And so to your point, like it's all of those people, those little touch points and those people along the way that not only are you influencing them, they're influencing you. And that's the coolest piece to me.
mm. So you mentioned you train. What was the name?
Geiger coaching.
Geiger Coaching. Is that more
Yeah.
one-on-one coaching, or is this a specific gym where you do most of the trainings and workouts and stuff?
Yeah, I train at an Anytime Fitness. I am not fancy in any way,
That's
shape, or form.
legit. That is legit.
I run on a dirt track. Like I'm a firm believer in like you have why do we need to like make it as fancy as possible?
Dude, heck
Um
yeah. That's awesome.
but don't get me wrong, my Anytime Fitness has like the skier, they have all the stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't do like a fancy, CrossFit or like High Rocks gym. I do one-on-one coaching with the team, and that has been the biggest for me. I'm so type A. Like I needed someone to be like, here is the plan and shut up, shut your brain off, like
Yeah,
this
that's
is what
very
we're doing, and that's what I need. And that's definitely what I get. Ryan is my coach, and he is the legitimately the most intelligent individual I've ever met in my entire life. I mean, we have conversations about like how to do a track session where I'm learning how to make my heart pump blood better to be able to function throughout the entire session. Like stuff that you don't even think, like that doesn't even cross your mind
hmm
on a daily basis. So again, I my goal going into last year, and it's bled over into this year truly, was I wanted to be humbled. Like,
mm
and I know that that sounds so, that's very vague, but I wanted to be humbled. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I don't want to be the fastest person in the room. I want to be humbled so that I can continue to learn and grow. And it's probably going to transition over into this next year too, but that is the, that has been the best thing that I just kind of keep in the back of my mind, especially when you're in an instance where you are learning and you're kind of like, what the heck is going on? Is this the right thing? Am I doing the right thing?
hmm
Um, so yeah, it's been great, and there is no fancy recipe here, just a really good coach and a really great team.
Yeah, I when I started to look deeper into high rocks, because I was
Yeah,
like, well, I come from a CrossFit background,
yeah,
I've worked out since I was a kid, and I was watching a video the other day, and this dude was doing the ski urge like bananas, just
yeah,
insane. I was like, how is he moving this? Like, how is he moving this fast? Just like his arms lifted before his head, so it's just the
yeah.
motion. I was like, wow, there's so much for growth. But I too am that type A personality. I'm like, I know how to program.
I know.
I know how to do that. But I'm starting to realize that it's so intense and in depth, and there's so many aspects to pull together like a spider web
Yeah,
that unless you have all the time in the world to really sit down and
yeah,
plan and do all
exactly.
that, it's you
And
benefit
I
for sure from
Yeah,
one-on-one
I,
coaching.
I think the biggest piece too is it's so trendy right now, and it's only going to continue to be trendy. And just like anything else on social media, it's going to continue to have people that have never done it before or don't have it. And so that misinformation does tend to be out there. I'm always like, do a race. Like, if you can get tickets to a race, which it's very difficult lately, but
Oh my
if you can
goodness,
get
yeah.
tickets, it's like going to a Garth Brooks concert, I swear. But if you can get tickets to a race, do the race. Like, if you have a baseline, you're going to be okay. Like,
Mm.
but do it and see where you're at so that you can have that baseline and understand that, like, you don't have to do a Hyrox workout to do a Hyrox. Have the baseline, have the strength base, have the running base. I mean, my split is very even. I have typical strength days, and I do have sessions where I focus on specific high rocks, quote unquote, movements like the skier or the rower and such. But I do a lot of running too.
Mm. I did see a post, and you were saying like you don't need to do 2-a-days or something
Yeah,
like. And it's funny
you don't
because
need to do two a
I do
days.
2-a-days, and like I'll get up at like 4 in the morning, and then I'll go to
Yep.
work at 7, and I get off work at 3, and I'll work out after. I
Yes.
personally have just found it a terrible time trying to. I did running, and then I would go lift or do some sort of
Yes.
movement or strength, and I was just so gassed. Where if I was
Yeah.
like, well, I get home, I got to do homework, I gotta eat dinner,
Yeah. No.
So, how have you found the
It's
balance with doing that and having twins and being married? What
yeah.
major things have helped you kind of stay disciplined and maintain that type of life balance above,
Absolutely.
everything?
Yeah. Again, having the coach was like working with Ryan and that team has been the biggest game changer for me because I am the one that's always like, well, I can just do it harder. Like, I can just do more and I'm going to be better and it's fine. Like, I don't need to rest. What's sleep? And that had always kind of been my mentality. And I think because coming from a swimming background, like, you're getting up at 5 a.m., you're doing a lift, and then you're going to swim in a pool for 2 hours and stare at a black line, and then you're going to class, and then you're going and you're swimming for another 3 hours in the evening. So it's like that was my life from the time that I was like, you know, 10 years old until I was, graduating college. And I think that I got back into that habit when I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go athletically in this phase of my life as a mom, as a wife, and it's not sustainable in any way, shape, or form. And so Ryan, my coach, is the first person that was like, you're gonna have a rest day, probably two on some of our training blocks, and you're gonna hate it. Like, it's going to be very difficult for you, but I promise you, your training is going to be so much better and so much stronger because you are taking those rest days. Like, your body has to get the gains, and they are not, and your body's not going to get those gains if you are consistently just tearing it
Just
down day after
broken.
day. Yeah, you're just broken all the time. And so that was a huge learning curve for me. The nutrition piece was a huge learning curve for me. And learning from, going from trying to lose weight to then trying to fuel my body to have athletic performance was a very hard shift. And I was, lucky enough to be able to find a nutritionist and figure out, like, I wasn't tracking my macros. I wasn't, I was like old school, like, I just need to
Eyeballing
have, like 1,000 calories today. I'll be good. Like,
it.
what? So yeah, that learning how to fuel for performance versus aesthetics was a huge piece for me. That I really had to learn. And I definitely learned it the hard way. There were so many workouts that I should have done, or even races where I should have done better that I needed to fuel better. And consistently having that discussion too, and the balance of that has been huge. And then obviously the time management piece, like, how am I able to balance like the kids and my workouts and making sure that I always joke, I'm like, I have a terrible habit of making sure everyone else is taken care of. My husband is the most supportive, amazing man on the face of the
Shout out
earth.
to the husband.
Like, shout out to the husband, Jay. He's the one that's always like, what race are we doing next? Where are we going? What do you want to do? Like, and I couldn't do any of this without him. He's the best dad. Like, the
Awesome.
boys are, and I think the boys are kind of too at that age right now. They're 4.5. They're in school full time, and so that has allowed me to be able to dive in a little bit more this year in particular because I am doing my training around their schedule. Like when I was doing it before they were in school, it's like, okay, they're taking a nap. I'm gonna go hit the run. Like, hey, they're going to grandma and grandpa's for 45 minutes. I gotta go hit a lift. Like it's just trying to find those time and that time. And you get to a point where you just do it. Like if it's like with anything, if anything is important enough, you're gonna find a way.
Always.
And we made it, a priority for us as a family that this was super important to me. I'm going to be a better mom if I can continue to do this. And we laid that out on the table very early on. And it's never, it's been a non negotiable ever since. So just like going to the grocery store, just like taking the kids to school,
Part
like
of the routine.
mom's got to get her workout in.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
again, it takes a team and a unit, but we make it work.
Awesome. No, yeah, it sounds like it be like everything else becomes a routine. You
Yeah.
get up, you
Yeah.
brush your teeth, it's second nature at that point.
Yeah.
Does your training tempo and like diet look differently when you're centered on a race versus off? And like, what does that look like without giving away
Yeah.
too
That's
many
a
of your secrets,
Oh,
or
please, I'm an open book. I don't have any secrets, guys. Spoiler alert. Um, no, I have been I just did a half marathon 2 weekends ago, and I felt like, again, I was really fueling for running. And as I was saying, that Hyrox is a running race. Was fueling very more carb heavy and making sure I was ensuring that I was getting that quick not quick, but that fix in to be able to fuel my longer runs as I was in that training block. Now that I'm shifting into Hyrox, I'm keeping my carbs the same. Don't get me wrong. I am just being more strategic about how I'm placing them and I'm upping my protein because I want to be able to keep some of that muscle growth more and than when I was running, if that makes sense. So I'll kind of toggle a little bit as I get into different training blocks depending on what my race goal is of the season. But for the most part, I'm feeling very lucky to be able to be at a point where I'm like, I know when I'm dehydrated. I know when I haven't had enough carbs before a workout. I know, like, I can feel it. And I think that just comes with time and learning and doing the workouts and talking through it and journaling and making sure that you have those pieces to be able to look back on and be like, oh yeah, I didn't eat breakfast that day. That's why that workout was terrible. Like putting those pieces together. So yes, my nutrition does look slightly different. I will say I'm able to keep it very consistent, throughout the season as well too.
Okay. Yeah, because I started to have to like have like applesauce before,
Yeah,
like in the
I know.
morning before runs, just something like quick
Yes.
release carbs and stuff like that. And just
Yes. And
like, yeah,
I'm
I
not a
do feel the
nutritionist.
difference.
Yeah,
No,
I'm not a
yes, this is
nutritionist.
just
I will not sit here and say, like, you have to do this, you have to do that, whatever. I love I take my creatine every morning. I do my electrolytes every morning. I drink way too much caffeine.
always,
And
always.
I still have all of those pieces, but again, it's like it's such a feel thing. And I will say this will be my one thing, don't train fasted. Just it's so not worth it
Oh man.
unless you're doing it for like a bodybuilding comp where you have like a very specific goal. I get that. I understand that. Again, I don't think that is sustainable long term. And I think any athlete that's going through that type of prep would agree. Um, but just I promise if you train fueled, you will be so much happier.
Yeah, and the body's gonna, right? We're not professionals, but the body essentially would utilize what you just put in anyway. So it's not
Yes,
like it's not like you're storing anything, especially if it's gonna get
exactly.
used. But yeah, right. So that's usually what I've been using too. Applesauce, see if it works. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's a good, no, applesauce is great. Those little go-go squeezes, the boys
Yeah,
have those. Those are good.
yeah, exactly. Actually, made Amazon has these. Shout out Amazon has like the reusable squeeze things.
Oh,
So then I
cool.
I put whatever mixture like with cinnamon in the applesauce or any
Oh,
other
that's
kind of thing.
smart.
So I don't have to keep buying them. Well, it's helpful for sure,
Good
and they're
job. Good
bigger.
hack. There's your
No,
hack,
it's good.
everyone.
Yeah. So when it comes to, because you said you just did a half marathon, do you have
Yeah.
anything that you're kind of looking forward to pursuing, or do you have any plans that you would like to, pursue as we, kind of finish off in the year, something you see for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm in full Hyrox prep now. A big piece of me coming kind of back into my athletic journey was learning how to compete again and not be a total bag of nerves every time that I'm like hopping onto a competition floor. And whether that's high rocks, whether that's a half marathon, whether that's DEKA. So part of my plan over the last couple months was really like to hop into these DEKA events where it is lower, it's at a gym, right? There are some DEKA events which I'll be competing at one. At the first half of this upcoming year in Anaheim, that's like more of a High Rocks-esque style event. But for the most part, these DECA events are in a gym and it's a lower kind of competitive set overall, but you're still going through your race prep and kind of utilizing that as a stage for thinking about how to compete at your kind of higher level. So that was a huge piece for me.
Being
And
comfortable.
I definitely needed that. And going through like treating it just like I would a half marathon or a high rocks or whatever it is, and doing the same warm up, eating the same way I would before an event, like stretching afterward the way I would too, those types of things. So coming up, that was a huge piece of the prep as we kind of jumped into this year. And then going into this season, I'm doing my next race is Hyrox Dallas, again, because that's kind of my baby.
There
That
you
was my
go.
first
Go
race.
back.
So I got to head back there and I'll be doing women's pro there. So I'm very excited about that. And
Nice,
then I'll
nice.
also be doing women's pro in Anaheim as well too. And then there's going to be a Vegas race and a Phoenix race. So I'm hoping to be able to jump into some mixed doubles and some doubles there. I have some really awesome partners that I'm looking forward to be able to partner up with for those races. And yeah, we'll see. I want to hit those two pro races just to really get my baseline for where my fitness is at and be able to grow and set those goals going forward. And then jumping into like this next half of the season and trying to figure out like where I really want to, what am I having fun with? I think that's the other thing too. It's like, I don't want to get burnt out on this sport. I love it. I love the community, and doubles is so fun. If anyone that is listening that is even thinking about it, like do a High Rocks doubles. It is so amazing. It's such a different experience than even just High Rocks Open event. So yeah, I want to still be able to be like, yes, I'm having so much fun and I want to race today. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Nice. You got some solid things lined up. I'm like
Yeah, I'm
inspired. I'm like,
excited.
for me right now, I'm like, oh man, I wonder how I want to know, that especially once you get the background in there, it's, anticipation, I guess.
I know
Um,
I'm gonna convince you before the end of this to sign up for one. So be
yeah, I
careful.
know. I'm getting like, I'm like, oh man, it's sounding great. Um, so like thus far, I would say like in this journey, it sounds like would you say
Yeah.
you kind of have like a newfound purpose? And I think you can have multiple purpose.
Yeah,
That's
that's
just my
fair.
opinion, mother, wife, daughter, everything. Would you say this
Yeah,
kind of gave you like a new found for yourself in a way,
absolutely.
or?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was drowning in motherhood. Um we had moved across the country. We were living in the Midwest and where my husband's family is, and we had moved the boys at 8 months, like back to San Diego where my family is. And so we had moved across the country. We were like trying to figure out, I was in this terrible corporate job, like just grinding and working all like it was just that perfect storm of everything. And being so lost and looking in the mirror, literally and figuratively, and being like, what in the heck?
Mm.
And also knowing, like, I always gave the example of I felt like I was giving 5% to 5 million things, and none of it was
Oh,
good enough. You know what I mean?
oh
Like,
wow, yeah.
just I was just kind of like
Bits
tapping
and
into all these
pieces.
things, like checking the box, but never really like being able to fully immerse myself into anything, motherhood included, because I was trying to figure it all out. And so when I kind of flipped that switch, it was like, all of the pieces started to, and again, I'm not saying this happened overnight, like just for the listener, like the boys were two and they're 4.5 now. So this has been a journey. And although I've only been really competing for a year, like it took me a year and a half to even just be able to feel confident enough to do a half marathon, to do anything again. So yes, 100% feeling like the planets are aligning. And it's sometimes I'm like, is this too good to be true? Like, when is the other shoe gonna drop? Like, how did I get so lucky to be able to do this. And like, I'm not a pro athlete. I'm not an elite 15 athlete. I'm never going to be at that level. I'm never going to set a world record. But just to be able to have the experience and meet these amazing people and compete again and, work with an amazing coaching team, like, has been, yes, absolutely a newfound purpose, which has just bled into every other aspect of my life, which has allowed me to be a better human overall.
Mm. Well, when your cup's filled, you can fill other people's cup.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what it sounds like. When you're able to
Exactly.
look back kind of all this, what's something you would say that um you're doing well in, and what's something you would say you'd like to improve on this journey?
Oh gosh, that's such a good question. Um, let's see. I think that I am personally, I feel like, again, I've fallen into like a really solid groove. Like, I, we have the schedule, we have the structure, like I know what my training is, I know what my races are. Like, I feel very good about, like, I am putting in the effort and I know that the results will follow because I am not leaving any stone unturned from a training perspective, from a motherhood perspective, like from a friend perspective. Like, I'm feeling really solid about a lot of those aspects of my life. Um, that being said, I don't ever want to feel like that is like I'm good. And I think you'll understand when I say that is I never want to feel like I'm at the peak. I always want to be like, how can I just do a little bit more? How can I like keep going? How can we make this better? Like, yeah, I feel like my training's locked in. I feel like all this is good. Like, but what else can I be doing to make this better, to be able to contribute better? So I think it's opportunities. There's opportunities always within every aspect of it, from a training piece, from a life piece. And I think for me, it's like, I'm not going to be an athlete forever. Like, I understand that. And again, I'm not a pro athlete, everyone. Like, I'm just a mom. I'm just a twin mom, guys, like, that really honestly got lucky and you did some hard work along the way. So I'm not always going to be able to, and knock on wood, I could have an injury at some point. So I think what's next for me of like, what could I be doing more of, and like, what do I want to be better at, is I want to be better and continue to do, like, working with other moms, working with other women,
Mm.
working with other athletes, and being able to coach them and inspire them, and kind of not even, and I don't want to be the inspiration. I want them to become the inspiration for themselves, like, I want people to understand that if I can do it, you can do it. And we just got to put a little bit of blood, sweat, maybe a little bit of tears in there too,
Oh
but
yeah.
we can get there. And so I think that that's really where I want to go, from what can I be better about, and something that, why I've picked up my social media, why that was something that was important to me as I kind of, as the boys started school, I was like, I want to start sharing. Like, I think I have an interesting story and I want to be able to just lift up and hug these amazing women around me. And if I can do that through a couple social media posts every once in a while, hey, like, we're doing okay.
Absolutely. So would you say that that is a future goal for you, is where you would like to, um, maybe not even tailor the content or anything, but definitely focus more on the supportive aspect, particularly of like women, mom, inspiration behind you? Because you do have a solid backing, especially when it comes to, that, I guess category or so.
Yeah.
Um, you know, being a mother and having twins,
Yeah, absolutely.
is a busyness. Would you say that's kind of the area you would like to
Yeah,
pursue
I think
more?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece that I am hoping to be able to pursue is giving my knowledge base from a coaching and athlete background to other women, and through coaching and through social media, and however that looks moving forward, and being able to just be that supportive voice among other moms and women is would be just such a dream come true.
Awesome. No, that sounds very great, and I can tell for sure. Like I said, I'm even inspired, so I already know somebody else is gonna pick. Yeah, I'm like, man, like this is good,
It's
you
so
know.
hard. I appreciate you because I have such a hard time talking about myself. And like this whole time I want to be like, so Steven, tell me about like,
No,
I want to learn about you and what your goals are and what you're
yeah,
doing. So I feel like I've just been like a talking head for the last, 30 minutes with you, but it's just you've been so kind and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about myself as much as it's so hard for
no.
me.
I mean, that's kind of the point, and that's my direction. I would say is like I do love talking to people. I would say maybe that's just my gift,
Yeah.
right? It's just
Yeah.
naturally talking to people, and I'm always been so interested. So, after seeing your content and like even reading, because you have really good posts, like not just surface level. It's not just you like with the wall ball, even though that was a
Yeah.
badass pick. I was like, oh man, that's a cool one. But you scroll a little bit, and there's a lot of depth to it, and I can definitely see where your heart is and your mind, and you definitely put a lot into that, and I could see that for sure
Well, thank
blossoming into
you.
exactly, especially with the blood, sweat, and discipline you already have. It's gonna definitely go in that direction for sure.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time, and thank you for coming and speaking to us today
Oh
and
my gosh.
giving
Yeah.
us information on DEKA and Hyrox and everything. And I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna look into
Yes.
that, and I know
Absolutely.
someone else will too.
Yes, and that's why I'm always like, just sign up for the race. Like, you don't have to know. I promise you, the community is amazing. Like, you can go to a DECA event, they will tell you what to do as you go through the race. If you don't want to know, if you don't look it up, like, I promise the people are just unmatched. I can't stress that enough. It is such an amazing group of people.
Nice. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time with us today.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. I look forward to seeing all your progress and all the
Oh,
goals and all
thank
the
you.
races you got going for you.
Thanks so much, Stephen.
All righty. Bye.
Bye.